All right, in today's video, we're going to talk about whether or not Headway is going to be helpful for you moving into 2025. If you've clicked on this video, you're most likely aware of what Headway is, who they are, and what they do. If not, we're going to touch on that. And then I'm going to share with you whether or not I think it's helpful for your private practice as we head into the new year. It is remarkable thinking that we're already going into 2025. So yeah, that's what we're here to do today. And as always, there's no fluff here. I am not paid by this company. They don't know I'm making this video. I don't care what they think when they see this video. I really make these videos just for you, the providers, the therapists just like me, so you can make informed decisions that help your practice grow and to run the practice you want. So with that out of the way, let's just dive right in. As always, in my recent videos, I just share my notes with you. Let's just be real about this here. All right, so if you don't know what Headway is, let's just start there really quick. And there's some question marks here. Let me just kind of go through this. And number one, Headway is a tech company, right? It is a startup company. They've been around for a little while now. I don't know exactly the startup, the founding year, but it is considered a tech company, a startup company, at least right now. And that comes with a whole bunch of different things, right? So we are familiar with startup companies. We are familiar with tech companies, some pros, some cons, but we just have to call it for what it is, right? This is a tech company, all right? So you have to just kind of be aware that things change quickly. The stability of the company, we're not really sure about, and their loyalties, where they lie, we have to kind of figure that out, all right? But we'll leave that there for now. What do they actually do for therapists? Number one, their main kind of bread and butter for therapists is going to be for credentialing, right? So they're going to make credentialing with insurance very, very easy. They work with a number of different insurance providers, and that process has notoriously been very difficult for therapists, but recently it's become very easy with these different startup companies helping out. But that is like their main thing. And then in addition to credentialing you, they make it easy to submit claims and to get reimbursed. And we'll dig more into this in just a bit. EHR, I put a question mark there. I wish I could make the question mark bigger. They do have an ability for okay, making sure my notes are up here. They do have an ability for therapists to like document sessions in their platform. I would not recommend it. It is not well organized. It's not well structured. I don't think it's a robust EHR, but the offering is there. I just don't recommend it. CEUs, so there's also kind of like I don't know if it's an offshoot, but there's a part of their platform where they provide CEUs to therapists. I've never used it. It's really never piqued my interest. But if you're looking for accessible CEUs, the quality of them, I'm not sure. I haven't heard many other therapists talking about them, but they do offer CEUs as well. And then there's, of course, a directory listing. Now, this here I've heard varies for different people. For me in particular, I think in all the years I've been using Headway, I might have gotten 3 or 4 people who have found me on Headway. I don't know what that is all about. That is very different than my other directory listings. I mean, I have a group practice. We have people coming to the practice. But for me, the directory has been almost it just doesn't work for us. I've heard other people say they do get referrals, right? So take that for what you will, but they do offer a directory listing as well. All right, now let's start. We're gonna make this video simple. Benefits, pros, cons, what I think, whether it's worth it. No particular order here. Number one, the benefit, using Headway is entirely free. This already makes it very attractive. I don't really need to say much more about that. It's free. Number two, the reimbursement rates that you get with their insurance panels, the people that they credential you with, are typically much higher than what you would get if you credentialed on your own. Okay. Now, a lot of people want to compare Headway and Alma. I have a video that compares them. It's still pretty relevant. I'll leave a link to that down below. But for this video, we're going to stick with Headway. So with that in mind, with Headway alone, they are going to give you rates that are usually higher than what you can get on your own. Okay. Now, the other thing I actually don't have written down here, but who are they paneling you with? One thing about Headway is that they offer more insurance providers to be paneled with than most of the other platforms. So they do the standard Cigna, Aetna, Optum, which includes United Healthcare, Oscar, Oxford, right? Those big ones. They do Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I think they do a few others, but the two that they just added or they're adding are Medicare and Medicaid. So again, if you're someone who wants to take Medicare and Medicaid, Headway will make that much easier, but there's added, issues with that as well. You still have to be trained on how to do Medicare and Medicaid. So that's brand new. They just started rolling that out. I think that's helpful if you're a therapist who wants to expand their reach and you're interested in reaching people who have Medicare and Medicaid. Headway is going to make that much easier for you. So that is kind of cool about Headway, the fact that they do try to expand even into the Medicare and Medicaid territory. I just mentioned this already, but it makes getting credentialed very easy. Again, that process can be fairly difficult if you do it on your own. It's not like difficult intellectually, but it's difficult. You have to follow up. It's a little bit confusing if you've never done it before. You're not sure about the contracts. How do I negotiate? It can just be a pain. Headway makes it simple. You fill out the application, you wait, you get credentialed, you're ready to go. The other thing about Headway is you can actually use it for your group practice. So if you are someone who wants to hire people, you have a group practice, you can use Headway to credential your providers, and that works well. Now, the caveat there, though, is everyone needs to be independently licensed if they're going to be on Headway. So you cannot do Incident 2 or supervisory billing. You cannot have people who require supervision on here. So even though you can use it as a group practice, it is limited because everyone needs to be independently licensed. LCSWs, LMHCs, you can't require supervision, okay? And these are some of the main benefits for Headway. Now, these are fairly significant benefits, okay? But let's talk about some of the cons here. Number one, and again, no particular order here, in my opinion, the EHR is not really usable, so it's going to be fairly limited in what you can do with Headway. And like I say with all these startup companies, these tech companies, view them as tools to help you run the practice you want to run, right? So if you already, and I usually recommend getting some sort of baseline EHR, like I usually recommend having an EHR, like a dedicated one as your home base. For me, at the moment, I use Simple Practice, and then everything outside of that I view as a tool to help me run the practice I want. So for example, I want to be able to take insurance. Headway can help me with that, so I'll use Headway, right? And just that's kind of the way I think about it. I already mentioned this, but the directory does not perform well. Again, that's my experience, my opinion. A couple of things that are going to be of interest to you. So if you walk, and people ask about this, if you get credentialed with Headway and then you leave Headway, you're no longer credentialed. This is the same with Alma or any of these other startup companies. It's just the nature of the way in which they credential you. If you walk away, you are not credentialed any longer. You still have to get credentialed on your own. So that's a con for sure. It's a tech startup company. I talked about this earlier on. It's unstable in some regard. We don't really know how long it will be around. Things are constantly changing. Some changes for the good, right? So sometimes you see new insurers being added on, and some changes are not so good, right? So you'll see things shift and shape, and most recently with a startup company, we saw some reimbursement rates get decreased. So you have to just be ready and know that these companies are always changing, sometimes good, sometimes bad. That's just part of what it is to work with them. The other thing is you don't have any say in the insurance rates, whether they go up, whether they go down, the negotiating part, you don't have any say. What you see is what you get. Now, again, they're going to be most likely much higher than what you can get on your own for most people. So in that regard, they're usually negotiating rates that are higher than what you could get if you're on your own. But again, you don't have control, you don't have say. For many people, this is a con. So those are the main benefits, the main cons. And so then you've probably already read this, but is it worth it? Because it is free, I think it is worth it to at least give it a try, but be flexible and ready for change, right? So if you give it a try, you don't really like it, it doesn't work for you, then you can come off of Headway and no harm, no foul. The other thing is, and I say this for every company that I review or talk about, don't build your entire practice especially on a startup company, okay? If they go down, you don't want your practice to be out of commission until you pick up the pieces and figure things out. So for example, I do use Headway in my practice. If it was to go under, I'm also independently credentialed. I would be able to pick up the pieces really quick and continue my practice without much interruption. I know some people have notes in Headway, some notes here, some notes there. If Headway crashed, I don't know what they would do. It would take a while to figure things out. With that in mind, don't build your whole practice on Headway, okay? Although you could piecemeal it, probably if you wanted to, I don't recommend it. The whole point there is just be flexible, use it as a tool, and in that regard, it could be fairly helpful, okay? Let me go back to my main screen here. I hope you found this video helpful. The whole point of making videos like this is simply to empower you to make decisions that you think might be best for you. I hope this pulls back the curtains a little bit and helps you out. So yeah, I hope you learned something. I hope you found this helpful. If you have other questions, please let me know. Leave them down in the comments. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.